I think Trump and his administration has done a good job of using racism and fear of other things as a manipulating tool to get people to ignore the fact that they are robbing the country and just running scams.
Yeah.
I just think these are scammers who do a good job of using buzzwords to get people all excited about stuff.
100%.
Remember building the wall? What happened to that? We just not going to
Oh,
talk
right.
about that.
We gave up on that.
I ain't gonna lie. I kind of miss building the wall. Now that we deporting people to countries they not even from.
Right.
Like, hey, about that wall. Because before all he wanted was a wall. We should just let him have the wall. Maybe you should focus on that. That was a good idea.
Everyone who's in here can stay and just like put a wall.
Let's say that jokingly, but
Right.
I just think that the DEI conversation, it's their latest single to keep their fans appeased.
This is Roy Wood Jr. He needs no introduction, but I'll tell you anyway. He's a prolific comedian, host of CNN's Have I Got News for You, and author of the upcoming book, The Man of Many Fathers from Penguin Random House. I wanted to talk to him because he's an outspoken baseball fan and hosted the Road to Rickwood podcast from NPR about the Negro League baseball players and the history of the game.
Before I start rambling, I'm 46. So he wasn't my era of baseball.
Yeah.
But I also grew up in Birmingham, where you learn every Black fact there is to learn. Birmingham proper is like 70% Black. Everything I ever did was predominantly Black, from the churches to the boys club to the schools I attended, my neighbor, every job I had, Black. So you learn all of this Black history and you understand how much Jackie Robinson was able to help. I don't want to say humanize Black people or the Black experience, but, you know, he was the first arrow into the armor of, you know, oppression, and sports being a tool to help create some degree of, I don't even want to say equality, but maybe understanding. And like when you look at Jackie's story and the idea that they were looking specifically for, if I can speak for it, they needed the right type of nigga.
Yes.
They needed the right type of Negro to be the first Negro, because if the first Negro coming there swinging and punching these white folks back, it's going to be 20 years before we know.
Yeah, like we're not trying that again.
Yeah, and it's messed up, but that was part of the ideology. It's the same thing with Rosa Parks. We were like, no, we need a certain type of Black, because that's how they're going to get the sympathy.
Right.
It's messed up, but psychologically, that's what you had to do. I'm doing 2 pieces right now for MLB Network, and one of them is going to come out on Roku a little later this month, well, in June and July of this year, about the history of the home run derby. In it, we talk a little bit about the history of the home run itself, and we talk about Hank Aaron's home run, which broke Babe Ruth's record, and the idea that this was a Black man in the South in the 70s and white folks was clapping for him. There's an iconic shot of Aaron rounding second base, and these 2 white boys from the stands just come running with him just to pat him on the back. Those 2 white dudes got arrested for running onto the field. Hank Aaron paid their bail. And it's one of the little known stupid, but just the idea of sports and accomplishment being this thing where for a split second, none of the stuff that's happening in the rest of the world really matters here. If only for a split second, made you forget about racism. Just didn't even think about it for a quick minute. And then that begat the era of Black baseball player that I came up watching, who was charismatic, who was flamboyant, who could be aggressive. Bo Jackson had a bit of seriousness and focus to him, whereas Deion Sanders had a little bit of more flair.
Yeah.
He'd high step around the bases a little bit. You know, baseball doesn't give you as many opportunities as football to showboat in the moment. But still, Deion's fashion and his style and his approach to the game, you know, this was swag. This was the beginning of cross-training era. This is when shoes and sneakers started to matter. I feel like what Jackie Robinson did was open up the floodgates for so many other different types of Blackness to be possible within the sport.
Facts. I'm from near Cincinnati. Ken Griffey Jr. means the world to us.
Y'all love him more than Barry Larkin, and Barry Larkin got you a trophy.
Right. Well, you know who they love the most is Pete Rose. So, like,
classic white man.
That's somebody's grandpa.